Hey everyone, welcome back to my How to Attack as KO series. Today we're going to take a look at Bind, we're going to look at Bath, Short A, Hookah, and Long B. So stick around, we're going to jump right into it. Here is the TLDR for B Long. Throw the dagger up here, gather information for your teammates as you're doing a slow push. Flash up against this sign here, gathered information that no one's here with that dagger, you push through, and then we have situational nades for clearing cubby, the shed, and for anybody who might be sitting in the back of the site. Here's the TLDR execute on B Hookah, which is a nade lineup for the back of the site, followed up by a dagger for the center, and hot flash on the box so you can get out. TLDR for A short coming from the link side, we have a lamps dagger lineup, followed by flash for the timing with your teammates, and then situational nades here for planting the spike, clearing out lockbox, and also the lamps area. The TLDR for A short coming from the bath side is dagger lineup, nade lineup, and a flash to clear out spacing for your teammates as they push, and the nade landing in the back of triple to push anybody off. The TLDR for A bath is a dagger to clear out the hard right corner, flash for your teammates, and then when you're pushing through, having a nade for the triple box, so you can wall bang this, clear out spacing for your teammates. Alright, thank you for sticking around. The first thing we're going to take a look at are some daggers for short A, just because I think that short A is so large, so many things that you can do here with KO, so I want to focus on short A first. The first things that we're going to look at are some dagger lineups. One is here in the A link and the other is in the lobby, and it's for lamps. It's a pre-round setup that you can help execute with your team. And then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to walk through some situational daggers of when you're taking the site, and then a couple daggers of once you're already on the site. Alright, so first we're going to take a look at a lineup for lamps, and this is going to be a pre-round dagger for your team to execute. So if you're on this side of the barrier, you just want to line yourself with this barrel, at this little kettle here, just tug yourself in. And if you look up right here, there's a little water pipe right on the top of the roof. I'll zoom in so you can see, but that's where you want to line up your dagger. Quite a bit of room for error. If you're to the left or to the right a little bit, that's fine. You just want to aim up here, line up your little dagger on the pipe, and toss it over the wall. What this does is it lands right on top of the lamps, and it creates an unkillable dagger, but it clears out the entire left side. And if you're on this other side and you want to throw that same dagger lineup, you just want to aim up here. There's a lot of room for error. If you look at this little rectangle here, it looks like maybe a gray and a tan. You want to aim your dagger right here. I'll zoom in on the tan part here of this little rectangle. It's super easy. Once again, a lot of room for error. This is a pre-round dagger. You just want to throw it up when the barrier goes down, and it lands in the same spot, and it clears off all of the lamps here for you. Well, those are great pre-round daggers for lineups for you to execute timing with your teammate, and it's great because it clears off a really accurate angle. Sometimes you're not able to actually go and set up a lineup, and so what I want to do is show you some situational daggers that you can throw. And what this does is it helps you clear off certain areas on the site so that you know where the information is, where agents might be playing, and how to execute. And so the first dagger I have is right on this wall here, just right above this box. There's a lot of room for error. You just don't want to throw it too deep over here. You want to make sure you throw it just right up on this top panel here so it clears off all of this corner. So this is a more accurate dagger to clear this little right cubby. I like to call this lockbox just because there's a little lock on this box here. What this does is it just makes sure that this hard angle is clear so that there's no crossfire for this person here on the lamps. You'll see this is a very common way people play this. They'll play an off angle here, and they'll have somebody who's stationed up right there playing off this person's contact. And then once they do, they'll peek out, or if they're a sky, or if they're a breach, they'll flash through or behind this wall. And so what's great about this dagger is it gives you some very accurate information, not get punished by this angle. And if you have a smoke here or a viper wall, you know you don't have to focus on this because the person is not tucked in on this corner. And then the next dagger is once you've started clearing this angle here and you want to try to clear off lamps without a lineup, it's just very easy. A lot of room for error. It's just throwing it up against this wall. You can throw it anywhere on this wall and it'll clear off lamps. I personally like to throw it behind this pillar because it leaves it less vulnerable for it to be killed by somebody on bench, in this cubby, or even somebody playing close here. So if you throw it up against this wall up top, somebody here could easily kill it. And so what I like to do is like to throw this cubby, because if it does get killed, you'll know for a fact that there's somebody inside here. Maybe they're camping in this corner, or they're peeking out of lands to kill it. And so it gives more accurate information and less thinking for you to know, okay, where did those shots come from? This is, if they kill it, they're in lamps, or they're in this cubby here. And this last set of daggers is really for gathering information on the back of the site. So this could be a post-plan scenario. This could be once you've already taken site and you're trying to buy time for the planter, get more information. I like to throw it on all the front sides of the map here. So it could be on the front of this box to clear out this corner over here, or a close bath if your team hasn't pushed through, or I'll toss one right here to just try to get some information in case there's anybody playing a retake. If you're playing against molly agents, sometimes they'll sit back here and they'll hide and they'll wait for you to plant, and they'll toss some utility over the wall. I do the same thing. So sometimes I'll toss it back here, but it's really just to gather information on the backside to see how they're planning to retake the site. Alright, so now we're going to jump into flashes. I have a couple to help set up any duelists as you initiate, and then most of them are really just situational depending on how the game is being played. So the first one I want to show you is just a very simple setup, and this is a lot of room for error. So basically you just want to throw it over this wall, and you can do it from this spot here, you can throw it over, but really what I like to do is when the round starts, and especially if we're executing fast and I'm working with the duelist, it's just when you enter this arch here, you just want to aim at the top of this roof, but you want to get it to the left as possible here on this wall. So this is the line here, up over here on this wall. So as you're running through, you just toss it over this wall. It's a very simple flash, and the reason why you want to throw it to the left as far as possible is because you want to make sure it clears this angle here, and you want to make sure it lands somewhere around this vicinity. And the reason why is because it'll flash the person who's playing this hard left corner, and it'll also help push off this person who's playing this box here. So it lands around this area here, and this will flash them and it will push them back into the CT, or they're going to have to play off these corners. And what this does is it really helps your duelists take on these corners in a less dangerous way. They're less vulnerable. They can clear these harder angles as they're pushing because the flash has pushed back the longer angles. So the set of flashes I have for short A are really to clear out these angles, especially when you're playing default. It just gives you more space of the map, buys you more information. And so what I like to do here is just toss flashes around these areas, and I'll kind of show you situational how they are. The first one is to clear this angle here. I like to aim at the rust spot here, and I'll toss it over. And what this does is it clears out this angle. Usually if you're playing against an agent who can get high, like a raised jet or an omen or chamber, they love playing these like high aggressive, high risk, high reward positions because they can escape quickly. And so I like to throw it a little bit high so it makes sure to flash them as well, but also push people off this angle so I can gain more information, gain more map spacing when I'm playing default. Another situational nade I like to throw is once I've already cleared onto site, say they've already set up smokes here and we're executing, I'll throw a flash onto the back of the site here, somewhere around this little area. I'll just toss it over so it lands behind this tank. I throw this flash for my people in bath because this is a very vulnerable angle, especially when you're coming out. It's the first angle to peek, and so by throwing a flash in the back here, I open up spacing for my bath friends so they can get into the site as well. And once they're able to clear this angle here and they're able to get more and start clearing the right, this opens up so much more spacing for everybody on the team. And lastly, if we've already pushed into site and we're trying to take full site control, and we know that there's somebody in lamps, or if it's just this is just a very common spot, of course, lamps is very powerful on bind. This has to be a very well-timed flash because this is such close vicinity. If somebody's playing close with a judge or a shorty or any gun, and you throw a flash and they want to swing this, the distance between where they are and where you are is incredibly short. So any flash that you throw here will be incredibly dangerous. And so you always have to follow up with flash with your gun out, okay? Don't pop flash and then jump in like this because you'll get punished for it if somebody's in here. Throw a safe flash. The corners are not that deep. If somebody is committed to this spot, they will get flash. And if they're here, they're going to have to back off. And if they are here and you throw a flash and they try to rush you, you're ready for it. So don't do a pop flash and run in. Pop flash, earn the angle, and then they're going to have to re-peek you here. Now you have a spot here and they're going to have to re-aggress for you. All right, now we're going to jump into nades. I have a couple of items. One is a post-plan scenario, and the second is an execution with your team that you saw in the TLDR And the last set are situational nades of when you want to take more information and you want to gain more angles into a site where you can possibly throw it. So the first one is an executional lineup for your team. As we saw in the TLDR, you just want to line up against this barrel here, super easy. When you just aim up, and if you look at this little light here, you just aim at the center of the top of this tower. And then what you want to do is you just want to jump and toss. So make sure you get that jump with that momentum as you're tossing it. What's great about this nade is that it lands right in the back of triple box here, and it negates anybody who wants to be jiggle peeking this angle here, which is very common, especially because this is a heavy box. You can't wall bang this. And so this is very common, and what they're going to have to do is push back out further, leave themselves more vulnerable to the bath, or they're going to have to swing into a different lane. The next nade that I have is a lineup for default plant spot. Now I'm not going to go into all my post plant molly lineups. I'll put a little card or a video at the end of this so you can see kind of what these post plant lineups might look like. But this I'm going to share is the most practical one that I've come to use the most, and it allows you to hold this short angle and the flank for your teammates. But at the same time, if you hear the tap, what you want to do is you want to aim up at this little corner here and just to the left a little bit, and super easy. You just toss. You don't have to run. You don't have to do anything else. And it lands right here on default. This buys you a good 4 more seconds, and for you to follow up with a flash or whatever it is that you might need to stop the planter. Lastly, this set of nades is really just for situational gameplay as you're taking more space onto site and you want to clear corners or you want to gain an advantage around an angle. What I'll do is, if I know somebody's playing on lockbox here, what I'll do is I'll just throw it up against this box, it'll bounce off and it'll clear this hard corner and it'll force them to come out. And so I can punish them without having to really try to clear that angle out. Now, if they have a sky or a breach, and you notice that they're flashing through here a lot, what I'll do is I'll just throw a nade up against this wall to clear this corner, and I'm kind of pushing through some of this other stuff. Or if I have teammates who are running up against this line, they can just focus on this corner here. Another nade I'll do is if my teammate is coming to plant, and I'll just throw it right here. Sometimes this will be smoked off. It can be punishable, especially if somebody's going to take a risky play to try to kill the planter as they're coming through. And then lastly, I like to throw it up at this little gate over here. It's a very, very common angle, especially for somebody who's going to play retake. They're going to be hiding around this corner, so this nade really helps push them out into this angle where they can be punished for it. Next, we're going to take a look at bath and showers. Now, I don't think that bath and showers is the best place for a KAYO to attack just because the close angles here don't give his utility the most amount of impact as it's clearing. It only clears off maybe a couple of areas. But that being said, there are still some really good areas in which you can use your utility to help support your teammates or take more space. First one we're going to take a look at, of course, is always the dagger. And so this first one is very simple. When the barrier drops, you just want to kind of run up and toss it up against this wall here. This is the safest dagger that you can throw without giving any information to the team that you're peeking out, your team is coming through. If you throw a dagger here, if you get killed right away, which it possibly could be because it's a very simple dagger to kill, as long as it gives you information that somebody's playing aggressive in this angle, that's all you need to know. And the next dagger that we have here for bath is a very simple one, but if you look at the map, it's just right here at the edge of the corner. And what it does is it uses the radius of the dagger to come up a really accurate corner to the right. It doesn't go far enough to clear this one or anybody on the site, but it's just for this little area here. And what's great is that it's such an accurate dagger that if no one is on this dagger, you don't have to worry about anything to the right. So when you come out, you can just focus on these long lanes without having to worry about being punished from somebody who's playing close here or who's in this corner or might be elevated on a high position. All right, so next we're going to take a look at flashbangs, and I have just two. One is to take control of bath, and the second one is once you're executing outside of bath, how you can support you and your teammates. So the first one is very similar to the dagger. It's just using this wall here and not giving yourself too much space to be punished. So as the dagger, you just throw it up against this wall. The flash is very similar. You just run up and you just toss it. Lots of room for error. What you want to do is you just want to throw a high one so it hits. It goes a little bit further, and you want to get around this area where the sewer cap is. So that anybody holding this more aggressive angle or who's trying to push here, what they'll have to do is concede this angle, and you want it to go far enough so that they get flash, or that they're gonna have to give it up more. The second flash is really simple. It is once you've already taken bath control, you just want to hug up against this wall, lots of room for error. So I aim up at this pile of leaves here. I like to aim at the very top one, this dark one, and I just toss it over. I'll kind of show you where that lands and why this is a very important flash. It lands right here in front of this little ledge here. For anybody who's playing Heaven, they'll get flashed. It lands right here. Anybody playing the back of sight, it's in their crosshairs. So if they're aiming here, wherever they're aiming, for Bath, they're gonna get flashed. And so it's a very common spot to be sitting here in the back. So they just have to concede this angle. It also helps your teammates secure more space. And lastly, for nades coming out of Bath, there's a couple of really great ones that I like to use, especially since there's so many close angles coming out of the Bath. This allows you to take a lot of corners and allows you to clear spots for you to push more into the site. And so the first one, for example, is if you do throw this dagger here and you gather there's information to somebody on the hard right, just toss it up against this wall here and it'll clear off anybody sitting on the bench area. The second nade is if somebody's sitting here at the gate spot, which is also another very punishable spot with somebody who's a flasher. I'll just hug up against this wall here, and if you just aim up at this yellow line here where this meets the wall, and you just toss it over, it's a very perfectly good nade to push anybody off this angle, and it makes them vulnerable for a second for anybody who's aiming this angle. And once they clear it, this is very punishable. They're getting hit, they're going to have to jump around, get out, and they can get punished by somebody who's peeking short. And the last nade coming out of Bath is a little bit more risky, but I like to throw it just because of the impact that it has on clearing anybody who's sitting behind this triple box, which is a very common spot for people to play, especially with flashes. And so I'll just aim up at this reactor box and I'll just run and toss it without exiting the Bath. And what this does is it just clears out this corner side. And if somebody is sitting back here, they'll have to move into this more wall bangable box here, whereas this is a heavy, you can't wall bang through this. So it forces them to come out on this side and they're vulnerable. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of pair that up with the wall bang. So I'll just run and toss it up as it bounces over, and I'll just expect that if there's somebody playing here, I'll just wall bang it. And even if it doesn't kill them and it just does some chip damage, that's all that you need to do for your team and for yourself to get an advantage. So once again, you just toss it over, and it's lots of room for error. You just want to make sure you run and toss it, and then I'll wall bang it. But just prepare for them to come out. Just be mindful that they might peek with this. Alright, next we're going to jump on the B site, and we're going to walk through Hookah first, and then I'll show you my execute on long. So the first one, as always, we're going to show the dagger, and I have a couple of lineups here in the back of pre-round, and then I'm going to show you some executional daggers once we get on site. So the first two are just going to be lineups, and this is for long and Hookah, but it's just easier to show both of them right now. So you're just going to line up pre-round. You see these little rocks right here? Super easy. Lots of room for error. You just want to line up on these rocks pre-round, and there's two lineups that you can do here on this rock. So the first one here we're just going to do for Hookah, as you see where this light is, you just want to aim your 100 on your health pre-round right under. Like I said, lots of room for error. You can even aim it right on the light. You know, it doesn't matter if you get here a little late and you just want to toss it up. I'll show you what it looks like. It lands on top of Hookah and is unkillable, but it clears off the entire Hookah to let you know anybody is in here. So it clears off all these corners, so you don't have to worry. Now, if this doesn't gather anybody in here, you'll know that nobody is here on the left side. Your teammates who come through, they can focus on the right side as they're coming through. Maybe there's somebody who's playing high up here, or they're playing like a lower angle down here. So once again, let's take a look at that dagger pre-round lineup. You just want to hug in here, lots of room for error, aim up, match the 100 here with this little light, toss it over, and it lands on top of Hookah. And the reason why I love this spot here is because you can easily do another lineup for long for your teammates just by moving your cursor a little bit. So when we were lining up the 100 here on this light over here, this time we want to aim your Nade UI with this little dark little stone here. So this is like the only dark stone here, which I think is really interesting. It's like, hey, this is a lineup spot. But anyway, you just want to line up your nade right on top of it like this. Now you want to make sure that none of the design is on the left side. So I'm going to zoom in. So as you can see, the whole design of the nade is on the wall, but just a little bit above this brown area. Toss the dagger over this wall here, and it lands right on top of the gardens. This clears up anybody who's in here, or lets your team know if anybody's playing aggressive or is in these closer corners, or if there's a chamber or a jet playing a more aggressive operator. Alright, now this next set of daggers is when you're executing onto Hookah and onto site. And so sometimes you're not going to get a chance to go and set up a lineup, or your team wants to move fast. So you're going to have to go fast with them. And so the first dagger I throw is just right into this little corner here. Very impactful dagger because it not only clears up anybody who's sitting in the front here, but it lets you know if somebody might be hiding in here. So if you hit two people, chances are they might be playing a crossfire inside of Hookah. Now, the next two daggers are for when you're on site or if you're starting to execute. The first one, and I just want to let you know, is the most powerful dagger and bind, which is right here in the center of the tube. This clears off the entire site. So if you just aim right into the divot here, lots of room for error. This is large enough that it clears off this cubby, it clears up anybody on site, and even a little bit of CT in this corner in the back here. It's really, really great. And and it's the most impactful dagger on the site for clearing the most amount of space. But if you want to clear other areas, what I like to do is I like to also throw in for CT if I feel like they're playing a strong retake and I'm holding Hookah, or if my teammates are coming through elbow, what I want to do is I'll throw one here where I have this box. Try to clip anybody who's in this spot here, especially if there's a flasher or somebody who's playing a little bit more cheeky. Alright, next we're going to jump in on flashes for B, and so this is going to be very similar to the dagger. We're going to have a couple of ones to gather more space in the sands here, and then we're going to have some for executing on site. So this first one is, if you know that they're playing really aggressive here, there's two that you can throw. And what I like about this combination is that it gives them different looks when they're taking this space. So most of the times you'll have like aggressive jet or chamber with an operator come out of the Hookah, and so you can throw a couple of flashes here to kind of throw them off. So the first one here is a pop flash. Very simple. You just want to be on the top of the stairs here, and you just want to aim around like this billboard. I should just throw it at the wolf. Flash out and you come out. And how do you follow up with this flash? Now, if you look at bind, there's a lot of artwork on the walls that gives you information. So if you just aim, and when you're coming out of this flash and you aim around this blue line and you turn all the way, you'll be at headshot height. So this is going to take a little bit of practice, but all throughout bind you're going to see these visual cues. So you throw the flash, you come out, and that's it. You throw the flash, you follow the blue line, you come out, and you'll be generally around that area. The second one is a left click flash. I like to just throw it up here. Flash. And I try to get it into this corner as much as possible to this side. And the reason why is because if somebody's aiming down here, this spot is open. So unless they're able to swing all the way hard over here, they will get flashed for it. So what I like to do is when the round starts, I just toss it up, toss it, go, and then I let it go. Get in the corner, they have to re-peek me. Now, if you're really struggling with this person coming out of Hookah and playing really aggressive, or if you just want to do a combination with your teammates to take space, and you're going to play a little slower and you want to take more space as you're pushing on default, you just want to set up on front of these rocks here. It's very easy, and this creates a one-way pop flash for your teammates to play aggressive. You just want to aim up kind of like where this curve is. Lots of room for error, but generally you just want to throw it over this building here. So right when the wall drops, you just left click it. It creates a one-way, and it flashes a person in Hookah. So it's high enough so where they're going to have to concede this angle, and your teammates who can play a lot faster, they can push through here, and this person's going to have to back off a little bit. So there are two flashes I like to throw, and I'm executing outside of Hookah here. And so when you're working together, the chances are CT will be smoked and so will elbow. So you don't have to really focus on flashing those areas. What I like to do is either one, I'll flash a pop flash right here at this box, and I'll just kind of toss it over. Flash. It kind of creates like a one-way here. Flashbang. And then I'll jump out the left side. Now this is very risky. Flashbang. But the reason why I do this is because if anybody's sitting under here, they'll get flashed. Anybody in these close corners who don't get smoked will also get flashed. And so what I'll do is I'll just toss it over here, and then I'll just jump out. And then the second flash I'll do is I'll just throw one for the back of sight. This is to help my teammates coming out of long, but it's also for me to clear a little more space when I'm playing a little bit slower. So if you just aim up at the top of this ceiling here and you toss it over, this will land right in the back of the sight here, and you can go either way. So what you want to do is you can just like, when you're in this spot here, you're planning to execute, you just kind of peek out, toss it there, flashes in, and you're golden. The first nade that I have is if you want to play an executional time with your teammates and you've already cleared Hookah, what you want to do is you just hug up against this watering can. It's very simple, lots of room for error. You just kind of line up here, hold this angle, and then your team is ready to execute. You just want to line up your UI somewhere in this vicinity, lots of room for error. You can see that the top of the arrow, like where these mouse are for the nade, kind of line up right here, and then you just toss it over. And what this does is it lands in the back of the site and pushes off anybody in this closer angle out into the open for your teammates on long and Hookah. So if the first one is situational in case they're already rotating and you know this. You can throw one for CT, so it's very lot of room for air, you just run up and toss. The second one is for this cubby here, which is a very common angle to hold long, and also a very common chamber angle. So this is a very punishable one for long, helps your teammates. If somebody's here and they've been strafing, you throw that nade, they're going to be pushed off and you can punish them very easily. Another one that I like to throw is I just like to throw it up to the back of sight and toss it into the back, so they have to clear it out, come out of these corners. They become more punishable, or they're now at an off angle so that you can see them, or they're no longer holding the strong angle that they were holding. And then the same thing for long B. You had the lineups, but if you're not able to do the lineups and you're noticing that somebody's taking this orb a lot, or they're pushing long a lot in the fountain, I'll just throw it. And if you look at this wall, there's this little artwork platform here. I'm going to use it a lot for nades and flashes and even the dagger, because you can use it as a level of lining up without getting punished. So I'll just throw it up right at the end of this. This will clear off a lot of the aggressive angles on long here, especially the left side, or if they have an op, they're holding it. This will give you the information. If they kill it, you'll know that they're definitely playing aggressive. And then the set of daggers that I have when you're pushing onto site are very similar to the ones that are coming out of Hookah, because bind on B is such a small site. I love throwing this dagger right into the center of the site. It'll suppress anybody, or if you're playing a Cypher or a Sentinel and they're playing on site, this is the most impactful one once again. If I'm playing more accurate things, I'll throw one here for elbow to help my teammates who might be peeking this corner to know if there's somebody that they have to focus on the left side. Now, if you toss this dagger here and no one is here, this entire left side is clear. Your teammates don't have to worry at all about this corner. They can focus their attention on this line all the way to this line, so they don't have to worry about this hard swing as well. And then the last daggers that I'll do is if I've already pushed up this side, and sometimes when you're pushing with your teammates, there can be a little bit of trouble getting into Hookah just because there's such strong crossfire angles here. And so what I'll do is I will throw a dagger for my teammates right up against this wall. What this does is it captures as much as possible on the side here to let your teammates know if anybody's in Hookah. All right, now we're going to look at flashes for long. So very similar. This little piece of artwork here on the wall here, this sign as we use for the dagger, we're going to use it for the flash. So you just want to run up, toss it up. This one clears off the flash angle. Now, if anybody's aggressive and they're holding this with an op, they're going to get flashed. They're going to have to concede it. You can gain this angle. And once again, they're going to have to re-peek off of you. So I really love this flash here. This is such a powerful angle for defenders to hold just because it's literally just one lane. All right, and then the flashes that I have once you're on site, I just have a couple. And so the first one is similar to coming out of Hookah. This is for the back of the site, and this is to really help your teammates in Hookah and yourself as you're kind of pushing through. So this is for the back of site. Same thing. Aim up at the center of this ceiling, and you can run forward and do it, but it's just generally just running forward and tossing it, and it lands in the back here. And once again, the ceiling here, you just kind of run, lots of room for error. You just want to make sure it lands on the other side of the tube so it doesn't flash you and your team. And then finally, if I still have one flash remaining, I'll throw this flash here for my teammates in Hookah. I'll just throw an elbow flash. And the reason why is it allows them to clear this corner, and I'll try to time it perfectly so when they're executing, they can come out of here and they have a flash to push back the person who's holding this deep corner. I try to throw it as deep as I can here. And the reason why is because somebody's here, they'll get flashed, or if they're holding a far angle like this, they'll get flashed. So I try to get it as deep as I can to help my teammates here. So now we're going to take a look at nades for long B, and what's really great about long B is that there's these walls here, so you can throw a lot onto site. So I do have a couple of executional ones, and then I have a couple of situational ones you get on site, and how you can clear corners for your teammates, whether they're coming out of Hookah or for you on long B. So if the first one is very simple, it's just like the dagger and the flash, and it's just utilizing this little artwork plate. Just want to run and toss it, and when it hits, it'll clear off this corner here, so anybody who might be playing a little bit aggressive has to kind of push up this angle here. And then, you know, when you're pushing up, you can clear these corners a little bit safer. Be aware that somebody might flash through it and play aggressive. If they see a nade landing here, they're going to know that you're trying to take space, and if they're risky and aggressive enough, they might flash and try to fight through it. This next one is a lineup nade for when you've already cleared this spot and your teammates have pushed up into these corners, and you want to execute something with a timed push. You just want to line up in this corner here, which is a very common spot to hide. And if you just aim up here at where this roof is, just in the center here, very, very simple. You just jump and toss, right? Look at that. Just where this little divot is, you jump and toss, lots of room for error. And what this does is it lands in the back of sight, and it doesn't allow somebody to jiggle peek off this corner with an op or a rifle. It clears off this entire corner. So when you're executing your teammates, you don't have to worry about this angle. You can clear off something over here, or you can start pushing through, and this is smoked, and you have more areas in which you can focus on. All right, now the next ones are more situational nades, and say you've already pushed up and you're going to execute on site. There's a lot of very common angles for B and bind, but also they create very strong crossfires. And so one person hiding in the cubby over here, and then one person hiding here. And so what you want to do is you want to eliminate those areas of crossfire for you and your team. So for the first nade, what you want to do is you want to throw it up against this gate. Just aim a little bit higher here and kind of run and toss. And what this does, it clears out the cubby here. So that's one great situational nade. If you've already started clearing these angles here, another situational nade is just hitting it up against the shed here. It bounces off these walls and clears off this corner here and this wall. And now with the KAYO buff, it's a sphere. So it will hit the person who's sitting up here if you're somebody who's in that position. Another situational nade is if somebody's in the back of side. Now I'll just throw this into the tube, especially with KAYO's buff. It clears off enough space and it clears off the tube here if you're able to get that shot off. And finally, what I'll do is I'll throw one for CT for my teammates in Hookah. If it's needed, I'll just kind of run up and throw it, and it'll land right here in front. This allows my teammates to kind of get through Hookah without having to worry about being punished from somebody pushing and being aggressive. Thank you so much for watching my in-depth guide. I hope this helps give you a little bit of confidence as you're executing in comp games or with a team or as you're learning how to play KAYO. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm also going to link my video for more lineups as you see in the preview video here if you want to explore a little bit more of these fun and cheeky nades for default plant spots. Thanks so much and hope this helps you in the game.